Oh wow.
Now you've heard me talk about Garmin. This is Garmin 1000 stuff. I'm going to reach across you just a second.
That's fine.
Get this one up.
Which, is this the Garmin 1000?
This is Garmin 1000. Now, as you can see, there is no actual idiot light panel on this one. And the reason being, it's all displayed on one of those digital screens. These are standby only. This is your main function display, and this is this primary function display, and this is multifunction display. So, let me get this up. There's your engine page. And we kind of joke around now that everybody has way too much information. And that will give you, here is temperature for cylinder head temp, each cylinder. This is temperature going into the turbochargers. This is exhaust gas temperature coming out of each cylinder. Then here is the electrical power, what's feeding what, why it's doing it, how much you're taking out of the battery right now, fuel quantity. He also has a fuel quantity down here. So a redundant fuel quantity. And then this going to calculate his fuel burn, how much he's got left. These are just normal looking analog engine gauges. This is how much de-ice fluid it's got in it. This is the oxygen it's got in it. All displayed on a TV screen. No steam gauges.
So is there a potential at any way, shape, or form that the electronics go in a way that, or circuitry screws up in some way that shuts this thing off and then he has no access to that information?
Yeah, that's a possibility.
However,
this screen can be converted to display if we turn the avionics off, which is going to kill that screen. I think no, doesn't kill that screen. Whenever you first start this up, the engine parameters are displayed on this screen, and you can put everything that's on this screen on that screen, or everything on that screen on this screen. So if the TV goes blank, you can have that information on this screen also. But
I guess the likelihood of that happening is really, really small.
We haven't had very many instances of that happening. No. There's an interface unit that feeds this data to that screen that could go bad. Individual probes on there can go bad. There are all kinds of ways. Now, there's two alternators on this that are feeding two separate bus systems. One alternator can drop off, and the other alternator will feed both buses. But with both of them on, they won't feed each other. So they're somewhat independent. There's a backup battery for it. So the main battery goes down, the backup battery will power your transponder, your flaps, and give you limited. Actually, you'll probably be using these for that. You won't have that with that. Let's see if we turn battery 1 off. Okay, battery 1 off kills that. And now we get the engine parameters, and we're running on battery 2 now. So we do still have this data. We would have flaps and we would have transponder, but you're only going to have it for a few minutes.
So you got to figure your stuff out.
Yeah, you're gonna find you an airport and land.
Okay. And I guess this is backup.
Yes, this is the basic instruments. Everybody, back when aviation first started, this is the basic instrument. This is called basically needle, ball, and airspeed. Airspeed, the needle and ball, which is your attitude in the world, and your altitude.
Is this mandatory for every aircraft to have the rudimentary basic instruments, or because it seems like, at least with the ADSB conversation, that some of this rudimentary stuff is going to go away or could go away to be replaced by this stuff, but is part
you have to have some sort of backup for this information. It can be an electronic backup. There's a unit that we've actually put updated avionics in it where we took the vacuum pump and plumbing and all the gyros out of the airplane. They're gone. And it has a big electronic display, more like what the King Air has. And then it has a small electronic unit that has its own battery that gives you this data here, needle, ball, and airspeed. So you can have it all be electronic, but it has to be independent as an emergency. It can't be dependent on the main ship power. It has to have its own power supply. So that's basically what the battery 2 is doing on this, is it's giving it a separate power supply. It's hooked to the system and getting charging from the alternators while the main power is on, but when the main power goes down, it can function. It powers what they call the emergency bus, and it gives you just the things you need to get the airplane on the ground.